Hi, you're watching Reddit Confessions, where silence sometimes screams louder than betrayal. The hallway light was still flickering when she came back. Her laughter hit before the door even opened, high-pitched, carefree, too much for someone who knew I'd begged her not to go. She stepped into the apartment like nothing had happened, like the night hadn't ended with me standing alone in a dark kitchen beside two untouched wine glasses and a cold, overcooked meal. She tossed her heels off, humming some pop song, and didn't notice the note I'd left on the counter, didn't notice my duffel bag was gone, didn't notice the closet half empty, didn't even notice the silence. She just kept laughing, alone. That's when I knew she wasn't alone at that party. I was already watching from the security app. I'd logged into our building's camera system from a motel 40 miles away. She stumbled a bit, kicked off one shoe against the wall, and scrolled through her phone like she was waiting for him to text back. I had muted emotions for months. But that night, I felt everything. 3 days earlier, I had stood in that very hallway, not yelling, not accusing, just asking her, "Could you stay this time? Just this once?" I knew what the party meant to her. The rooftop, the music, the people who called her the firecracker. But I needed her more than the party did. She didn't even let me finish. "It's once a year, Dorian. Don't guilt trip me. Grow up." She didn't see my hand trembling. She didn't see my heart sink when she picked her perfume over my presence. So, I did the one thing she never expected. I disappeared. I turned off my phone, left a note on her pillow that just said, "Don't worry, I won't be in your way." And for 72 hours, I became nobody. No texts, no posts, no signal. I stayed in a rundown inn off Route 19, where the vending machine didn't work and the room smelled like rust and lemon cleaner. I stared at the ceiling fan and thought about how two people can live in the same space and feel like strangers at a bus stop. I expected panic. I expected tears. I expected anything. But when I finally turned my phone on again, there were 3 missed calls, all from her sister, none from Nora. And what I found in her chat history when I logged into the cloud backup, what she wrote about me while I was gone, it wasn't just shocking, it made me realize I had no idea who I'd been sleeping next to for the last 5 years. I'll show you everything. But first, you need to hear what she did on night 2, because that's when things got worse than I ever imagined. I watched her from a motel TV screen that reflected nothing but static and shadows. I didn't sleep the first night, not because of guilt or second thoughts, but because I kept checking the apartment cameras, hoping she'd look even slightly shaken. She wasn't. In fact, around 2 a.m., she started dancing in the living room, tipsy, barefoot, spinning like a girl in a perfume commercial. That's when I realized she didn't miss me. She missed being alone without questions. It was like she had been waiting for this moment. I saw her take out her phone, call someone, and giggle. Not smile, giggle. That specific kind of laugh she once used only with me. She whispered into the phone, paced back and forth, then disappeared from view. The bedroom door closed. And that was it. My screen went black. I stared at that blank screen for hours. I should have turned it off, but it felt like the only heartbeat I had left. I imagined what was happening behind the door, and my mind went to places no one should visit without a warning label. The motel walls felt like they were closing in. The hum of the fridge turned sinister. I started wondering, was I overreacting? Did I just blow up my marriage over a party? But then I replayed the video. Her laugh, her face, her freedom. It wasn't guilt I saw on her. It was relief. The second day was worse. I left the motel just to get away from my own thoughts. I drove around with no direction, ate a gas station sandwich, and tried not to cry in the parking lot. At one point, I stopped at an overlook and screamed into the open air. It didn't echo back, just silence. That's when I remembered something. Our anniversary was exactly 1 week away, and she hadn't said a word about it. By the time night fell, I checked the cameras again, and this time, there was a man, not just a man, that man from her gym. The one she swore was just funny and loud. He wasn't just loud this time. He was holding a wine bottle in one hand and her waist in the other. They stumbled in laughing, the way we used to laugh, and when they kissed, something inside me finally snapped. But it wasn't rage, it was silence, the same silence she had given me. I didn't know what I was going to do next, but I knew I couldn't go back to being the guy holding cold plates and waiting for a woman who'd already left me long before I walked out that door. I thought watching her kiss him would be the worst part. I was wrong. What crushed me wasn't the kiss. It was how comfortable she looked doing it. No hesitation, no looking over her shoulder, no guilt. Just laughter, skin against skin, and a casualness that only comes from repetition. That wasn't a first kiss. That was familiar, practiced, maybe even routine. The man, let's call him Jared, since that's the name he used in one of her tagged gym photos I scrolled past months ago, didn't even glance around like he was trespassing. He walked into our apartment like it was his, like I'd been evicted and no one bothered to tell me. He poured himself a glass of the wine I'd been saving for our anniversary, the same bottle we got in Sonoma when we still held hands without thinking about it. The bottle she promised we'd open when we made it through a hard year. I guess she decided the year wasn't worth finishing. They vanished into the bedroom. I shut off the camera feed. I didn't need to see more. I already felt like I was bleeding internally from a wound I couldn't point to. I stared at the motel ceiling, my chest tight, my head hot, trying to remember the last time she'd kissed me like that, or at all. I couldn't. I woke up the next morning on top of the motel bedspread, fully clothed, with one shoe still on and my phone buzzing nonstop. Not from her, from unknown numbers, missed calls. One voicemail from her sister. "Dorian, I don't know what's going on, but Nora's freaking out. She said you left without saying anything. Call me, please." Freaking out? Right. Not when I left, not when I didn't text. Only now, when it might affect her. I turned my phone back off. I wasn't ready to hear excuses dressed up as apologies. I wasn't ready to hear her say it just happened, or that she didn't mean for it to go this far. The worst part is, I probably would have believed her. Not because it was true, but because I wanted so badly for it to be. That's how broken I'd become. By noon, I drove into town just to feel human again. I ordered coffee I didn't drink and watched strangers live lives that still made sense. At some point, I opened our shared cloud storage and scrolled through her recent photos, something I hadn't done in months. That's when I saw it, a hidden album, one I didn't create, one I never noticed. Inside were dozens of photos of her and Jared, restaurants, his apartment, her in outfits I'd never seen, her smiling in ways I hadn't seen in years. One photo broke me. It was taken in our kitchen. She was sitting on the counter wearing my old college hoodie, the one she said smelled like comfort. Jared's arms were wrapped around her waist, and she was looking at him the way she used to look at me. It wasn't just betrayal, it was replacement. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just felt empty. And that's when I decided, if she wanted a world without me in it, I'd show her exactly what that looked like. I sat in my car that evening, parked on the edge of some nowhere town parking lot, just staring through the windshield as rain smeared everything into blurred shapes. People rushed in and out of the grocery store, dragging their umbrellas, buying ingredients for dinners I'd never be invited to. I watched them like I was behind a glass wall, part of the world, but not really in it. Something inside me had cracked wide open. I didn't feel rage, not yet. It was worse. I felt invisible, replaceable. I remembered when Nora used to call me her safe place. She said I was calm when the world felt loud, that my quiet love made her feel grounded. But now, my calmness had been rebranded as weakness, and my love, well, it had become the thing she tiptoed around while texting other men from the bathroom. I had become background noise in the story of her exciting life. But I couldn't go back. Not just physically, mentally. I couldn't return to pretending I didn't see it. 2, swallowing down every gut feeling just to keep things from falling apart. The problem was, they already had. And she didn't seem to notice. So, I made a decision, not to get back at her, not out of revenge. I'm not that guy. But I needed to let her feel the absence she'd created. I drove back to the city, not to our apartment, but to a small rental I found online, paid in cash for a week. I changed my number, canceled our shared Spotify, logged out of every shared account, removed my access from our grocery delivery app. Stupid things, but all things that made me present in her world. And then I did something I never thought I'd do. I called her sister. I asked calmly, "Is Nora okay?" There was silence, then a sharp exhale. "She's been losing her mind, Dorian. She thought something happened to you. She called your parents. She even went to the police." Good. Let her panic. Let her feel what I felt that night she walked out laughing. Her sister hesitated, then added, She also confessed something about a guy named Jared. I don't think she knows you know. I didn't reply. What was the point? That night, I sat on a new bed in a strange room with the blinds shut tight, and I did something pathetic. I searched her name on social media using a fake profile. What I found almost made me drop my phone. She'd posted a photo, just a close-up of a glass of wine, captioned, "Some things aren't meant to last forever." No apology. No explanation, just a cryptic message to the world, like she was the victim, like I was the one who ruined everything. That's when something shifted in me. The silence wasn't enough. She needed to know I saw it all. Every kiss, every lie, every moment she thought I wasn't paying attention. And if she wanted closure, she was about to get it in a way she'd never forget. I spent most of that night pacing in the rental's kitchen, staring at a microwave clock that blinked the wrong time, and listening to the hum of an old refrigerator that groaned like it resented being alive. I couldn't stop replaying that photo caption she posted. Some things aren't meant to last forever. The nerve of it. Like our marriage had just naturally expired. Like it had been a carton of milk and not 5 years of sacrifice, loyalty, and trying to love someone who kept drifting further away. I thought about texting her. Just one word. Why? But I knew how that would go. She'd either say nothing or twist it into a monologue about how I was emotionally distant, how I made her feel unseen, or how I didn't push back hard enough when she started slipping, as if I should have fought harder for someone who already packed her bags emotionally and just forgot to tell me. I couldn't sleep, so I sat down at the tiny kitchen table, opened my laptop, and typed out everything I had seen. Not in anger, in detail. The photos from the cloud, the footage from the security camera, the date and time stamps, even screenshots of her public posts. I didn't embellish anything. I didn't have to. The truth was already loud. Then I scheduled it all to send. One email. To her. With the subject line, "You looked beautiful that night." No threats, no yelling, just undeniable proof that I had seen everything, and hadn't said a word until now. After I hit send, I powered off the laptop and just sat there, listening to the buzz of my own heartbeat and wondering if it even mattered anymore. She had made her choices. I had made mine. We were no longer playing the same game. The next morning, I turned my phone back on. 23 missed calls. 11 from Nora, 5 from her sister, a few from unknown numbers, and one, strangely, from Jared. That one made my stomach twist. I didn't answer any of them, but I checked my email out of morbid curiosity. One message from Nora, subject line, "What the hell is this?" The body of the email was short. No denial, no apology, just this. "You invaded my privacy. You had no right to do that. You're acting insane. Where are you?" She didn't even ask if I was okay. She asked where I was, as if this was about logistics, not heartbreak. That's when I realized she wasn't confused or scared. She was embarrassed. She was terrified of being exposed, of the image she'd built for herself, crumbling in front of her friends, her family, her curated little digital world. And that's when I made the final decision. I wasn't just going to disappear. I was going to leave the kind of silence that echoes, the kind you can't escape no matter how loud your life becomes. I didn't think the silence would bother her as much as it did. For someone who always claimed I was too quiet, she suddenly couldn't handle the absence of my voice. I guess when I was silent in the same room, it meant I was still available, still willing to listen, still there. But now I was gone, and she couldn't fill the space with excuses or deflections. And that's when she started unraveling. It began with a voicemail. Her voice was shaking, but still too proud, like she was trying to pretend she had control over a car that had already flown off the road. "Dorian, I don't know what this is supposed to accomplish. If you wanted to talk, we could have talked. You didn't need to ghost me like some child." Then there was a pause, and the facade cracked. "Please, can you just tell me where you are? I'm scared." I wanted to feel bad. For a second I did. But then I remembered her laughing on the couch, wine in hand, while Jared walked through my front door like he'd been there 100 times. She wasn't scared when she lied. She was only scared now because she got caught. What surprised me most was what happened after that voicemail. I didn't respond, but a day later, I got an email from one of her friends, Lindsay. We hadn't spoken in over a year. Lindsay and I never got along. She once said I was too emotionally soft for Nora, too cautious, too boring. And yet, here she was, messaging me. Her email was only 2 sentences long. I don't know exactly what happened between you two, but Nora's been lying to all of us, and I think you deserve better than whatever game she's playing. I read that email 10 times, not because it helped, but because I couldn't believe someone from her world was admitting it, admitting that I wasn't crazy, that I hadn't imagined the slow erosion of my marriage, that it really had become a performance, one she starred in while I faded into the backdrop. Later that night, I walked to a nearby bar, not to drink. I barely even touched the beer I ordered, but just to be somewhere that didn't echo with memories. As I sat there staring at the condensation dripping down the bottle, a song came on that made my chest tighten. Our song. The one we danced to on our third date, when she spun barefoot in the living room and told me she felt safe with me. I nearly laughed. Safe. What a joke. When I got back to the rental, there were flowers waiting outside the door. No card, but I didn't need one. I recognized the handwriting on the delivery slip. Nora's. I left them there, unopened, like a tiny grave. She thought this could be patched with symbols, gestures. But what she didn't understand was that I didn't disappear to get attention. I disappeared because I couldn't survive pretending anymore. And if she thought I was coming back quietly, she was wrong. She showed up at my job. That's when I knew the silence had finally done what years of conversation, compromise, and pleading never could. It made her uncomfortable enough to actually move. I was standing behind the counter at the small tech repair shop where I'd been helping out part-time. I'd taken the gig just to pass time while figuring out what to do next. I didn't think she'd find me there, but she did. And when she walked in, I didn't even recognize her for a second. Not because she looked different, but because she looked desperate. No makeup, hair pulled back in a messy knot, eyes tired. But the moment she saw me, all of that softened. She tried to smile, like we were meeting for coffee and she wasn't the reason I'd spent the last week sleeping in a room with a broken heater and a flickering ceiling light. Dorian, she said quietly, like my name was fragile. I didn't respond. I kept my eyes on the register screen, pretending to be absorbed in some meaningless task. My coworker, sensing the tension, walked into the back without a word. I know I messed up, she continued, stepping closer. But this, disappearing, cutting me off like I meant nothing, that's cruel. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Cruel? I spent years watching her emotionally drift away. I begged her to stay when she was already halfway out the door. I made dinners she didn't eat, left notes she didn't read, and now I was cruel? You had Jared in our bed, I said finally, still not looking at her. Tell me, what part of that did you think was kind? Her face dropped like I'd slapped her. She opened her mouth, probably to deny it or twist the truth into something less ugly. But I didn't give her the chance. I saw the videos, the photos, the hidden album in your cloud. Silence. She didn't even try to lie, just stood there, breathing hard, blinking fast. I thought I'd feel something saying that to your face, I added, voice low. But I don't. I'm tired. I'm past hurt. I'm done. She stepped back like she'd been hit. So that's it? You're just gone? No, I replied. You were gone. I'm just catching up. She left without another word. No begging, no crying. And I realized then that she never expected consequences. She thought I'd always be the guy who stayed, no matter how badly she pushed. But now, the person she used to come home to had finally left. And the only thing waiting behind the silence was truth. It's been a month since she walked out of the repair shop, and she hasn't tried to contact me again. No calls, no emails, no dramatic texts, just silence. The same silence I once begged for, and now finally embraced. At first I thought it would hurt more, that I'd collapse under the weight of the finality. But it hasn't. Something inside me has shifted, not healed entirely, but realigned. I stopped waiting for her to explain why she chose the party over me, why Jared, why the lies. Because I've accepted I'll never get the kind of answer that makes it okay. And I no longer need one. I've spent the last few weeks slowly stitching together a new routine. I moved into a small apartment above a bookstore, of all places. The kind of place where the floor creaks when you turn too fast and the windows whistle when it rains. It's not glamorous, but it feels mine. I started journaling again, something I used to do before life got noisy. I go for walks without checking my phone. I listen to old albums. I stopped asking myself if I was too soft or too boring, because maybe I am soft. Maybe I do feel too much, but that's not weakness. It's just part of who I am. A few days ago, I ran into Lindsay, Nora's friend, the one who emailed me. She apologized for everything. We sat in a coffee shop for 2 hours, talking about books, regrets, and what it feels like to start over when you didn't ask to. It was surprisingly easy. No pressure, just two people trying to make sense of where they ended up. I don't know where this leads. I'm not rushing into anything. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm breathing with my whole chest again. I'm not haunted by the sound of Nora's laughter echoing through the apartment. I don't wake up expecting an apology. I don't scroll through old texts hoping to find something redeeming. The truth is, I disappeared for 3 days to escape the pain. But staying gone became the start of something else. Something better. Not revenge, not payback. Just peace. So, if you're still reading this, and you've ever been the one who gave everything while someone else kept a piece for themselves, know this. Walking away might just be the most powerful thing you'll ever do. Thanks for watching Reddit Confessions. If you've ever lived through a moment in history, personal or global, that changed everything for you, share it in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to Reddit Confessions for more real stories that stay with you.